Hello and welcome to another weekly update. I hope you're doing well. Not loads of things to talk about this week actually, if I'm honest. No like big newsy announcements or anything like that. Maybe I've missed them all. It's possible. We are going to talk through some things, but it's a nice opportunity to talk through some things that probably wouldn't have made the cut if there'd been lots of news. It's kind of an odd time, I suppose. We've come off the sort of summer break. Everybody's back at work, but they're probably quite focused on either their deliverables that have already agreed to, so things that have already been announced that they need to commit by, the end of the year or the end of the quarter, and they've probably also got an eye on Ignite as well, and some of those kind of winter conferences. So, yeah, it's kind of not wholly unexpected, but it is kind of a quiet time. Anyway, let's get into some other things that we probably wouldn't have had a chance to cover. The first of which, so in the week, I think it was in the week, it might even have been last week, but I didn't talk about it last week, so we can talk about it this week. I was on a episode of the Copilot Connection, which I've spoken about briefly before on here. It's a podcast run by Kevin and Zoe, both MVPs, and it's a really good source of information about everything that is happening at the moment with Copilot. It's a good roundup of everything. And what I really like about it as well is they go out into the field and find people who are experiencing this stuff and who have experience with it. And they go talk to them, whether that's other MVPs, people in the space, Microsoft people, whatever it is. And they pick those people up at events and places they go and stuff like that. And I spoke with Kevin about some of the stuff we talked about a couple of weeks ago about Copilot agents. I nearly called them declarative copilots. Did you notice that there? Copilot agents, which is the new name for declarative copilots. And more broadly, actually, and we could have spoken for hours about all sorts of things, but it's an interesting space right now in enterprise development. Writing for Copilot forces a slightly different way of thinking about how you build your enterprise applications and what you do with your existing stable of enterprise applications. So if you want to hear all of that conversation, the Copilot Connection, it's on YouTube. I'll put a link to this YouTube video I'll put that in the notes. You can also get it on podcast, wherever it is you get your podcasts. So lots of different options for where you get it from. But yeah, just search for the Copilot Connection or ask Copilot to tell you about the Copilot Connection, and yeah, that's definitely worth listening to. Yeah. All right. Next thing I want to talk about is a blog post that came out in the week, and it's not huge on information. There's some stuff in there for sure. It's an interesting one. It's kind of two blog posts in one, and I'm really surprised it got put out as one big blog post, because it completely feels like it should have been two blog posts. And I don't know, it's fine as it is. I kind of wonder if somebody made a mistake somewhere, because what it is in this blog post is an open letter from Mustafa Suleyman, who's the EVP and CEO of Microsoft AI now. And then after that, there's a whole section from the Copilot team about all the new things that are coming to Copilot. As this is Copilot and not Copilot for Microsoft 365 or Microsoft 365 Copilot. So it's things about Copilot in Edge, Copilot Vision, which is a kind of a new thing, but it's more consumer level Copilot. But actually the bigger reason for talking about this at all is that open letter, because it doesn't really matter whether you're into Copilot or the Microsoft 365 version of Copilot, or even the GitHub Copilot. I think this open letter from Mustafa is, I think, really good. I resonated with a lot of what he said. I thought it was good. I think it's important for Microsoft to define themselves in this AI space, because they're not the only people in the AI space now, and so they do need to differentiate. How can they differentiate? I think they can differentiate by being the good guys. And I know like a lot of Linuxy people from the 80s and the 90s will probably scoff at that, but you've got to see it kind of against the context of some of the other people in the competition, right? So I think letters like this are good. I think they show, because the other thing, right, is that this letter is kind of partly for us, partly for shareholders, but also partly for Microsoft staff, right? Microsoft staff read this and get their direction from it, whether they're in Mustafa's direct team or not. So some of the things he says in here, I think, are are really important. Technology for its own sake counts for nothing. Technology, how it feels, it matters to people, and great technology should not be about how you feel. It should be about what you experience, not what we're building. Things like that, I think, are really important. Like, that's good. These is good information for every developer, regardless of if you're in the AI space or not. But so I think that's what Microsoft are aiming at. That's what they're trying to do. They're creating an AI companion for everyone. But I think they're really mindful of treading carefully here and trying to bring people along with them and kind of keeping that level of trust. I go read it for the letter. Then if you're interested, this is what I mean, right? By itself, this solid blog post by itself, this open letter, perfect. But then there's like a line, which feels like it should have been a new blog post, who knows? There's a line, and then it's like, from the Copilot team. And then there's like a whole other blog post about all this stuff that's coming, which I'm not going to go through because it's not particularly Microsoft 365 focused. It is interesting, and it's worth reading because it's going to be coming into your kind of personal world of Copilot at some point. A lot of this is forward-looking, I think, so just bear that in mind. My one criticism of and this isn't just Microsoft, this is everybody, but my one criticism of the industry right now is that we are so forward-looking in our announcements. Like, we're going to do this thing. When? Don't know. Is it ready? No, of course it's not, but we're going to talk about it now. We might come back to you in a year or two's time when it's actually done. I don't like those kind of announcements. I'm like, when you announce something, it should be ready to go. Don't announce something that's not ready. So, that's just me. But everybody does it. So I guess you have to kind of compete there. So I get it, but that's just me. All right, so that's a good blog post to go and read. Finally, having said there wasn't anything to talk about, I'm coming up for running out of time. I want to talk about this, which is a new kind of community that I wasn't aware of. wedoAI 2024. This is their inaugural year. It's an event. I believe it's virtual. It looks really good. It's all about sharing knowledge within the Microsoft AI community. So simple format, 2 topics, 1 day. It's already happened. So it happened back in August, the end of August. But what that means is that you can look down this list and I think you can replay all of these. So this looks really interesting. I would love to tell you that I'm going to dig in and watch all of these. I would love to be able to do that. I just don't see it happening. But I'm going to look through because there's definitely some things in here I do want to watch and do want to look at. I found this via Jamie Maguire and his Understanding Semantic Kernel video. But there's lots of other interesting things in here as well. And there's some good names in here that you'll probably recognize as well if you follow the Microsoft AI space. So that's definitely worth a watch. If you can carve out some time, do so because there's some really good speakers in there and some really good content. All right, that is everything from me this week I wanted to tell you about. I hope you have a really good week. I'm not going to put in a link to the fundraising page for the run I'm doing this time around. I might do it next time around, but if that's news to you, go look at last week's or next week's. Suffice to say that the training is going well and I haven't picked up any injuries yet, touch wood. All going well. Whatever it is you're doing this week, have a good one and I will speak to you again next time.